You are listening to the Wine Brothers Podcast. Feel free to follow us on Twitter at Wine Brothers Pod or follow us on Instagram at Wine Brothers Podcast. And if you feel inclined, support us on Patreon.
You do differently on this one?
I'm just using all computer hardware and no microphones, mixer boards, or anything, so we'll see how the quality turns out.
Okay. You can take the act off. We can be normal.
I know, I can't. I'm never normal, though. So I'm drinking a nice 2013 or 2014 rosé.
And after 2 hours of trying to get this to work, I wish I was drinking.
I don't blame you.
What's the breakdown on that rosé? What are the varietals?
So it's a little Chambourcin, probably 45% Chambourcin, 25% Merlot, 25% Cab Sauv, and 25% Cab Franc. I know that doesn't add up to 100, but
okay.
Majority Chambourcin, and then the Cab Sauv, Cab Franc, and Merlot are bringing up the other probably 65% of that.
So Chambourcin, so it's East Coast. Is this from your winery?
Yeah.
Okay.
I will say when it was younger, it had a little more acid to it. I think the acid kind of degraded a little bit.
Did it precipitate out, or is it just not tasting as crisp?
It's just not. I always find that with older wines, that if it's like a really dry white or a dry rosé like this, you find that the acid is a lot softer as it gets older.
Right.
Especially when the wines haven't gone through malic, because I think there's an enzymatic malic reaction that happens that
without the addition of CO2. That's nice.
What do you mean?
Well, with malic, obviously you get CO2 forming in the bottle with malolactic.
Oh yeah, yes, clearly. I mean, it's not microbial because this wine's stable, but all right, yeah, but I think there's an enzymatic malic reaction that happens, and that's why older wines get softer in that regard as well.
All right. What kind of closure did you have on it?
It's twin top.
Okay, so agglomerated twin top.
Yep.
So there is oxygen transfer?
A bit, yes.
Hey, do you notice when you run twin tops through your corker that there's a buildup of residue?
Yep.
Yeah, because they lubricate them?
Oh, no, I haven't noticed that. I've noticed that there's a lot more dust on these.
Oh, dust. So I ran a whole bunch of twin tops through for a client on ours, and I noticed that there was like a waxy buildup with, small pieces of cork, and it looked like paste.
Oh, I've never noticed that. And
when I looked into it, I guess they lubricate the corks somehow to help them move through the jaws better. The agglomerated corks have a lot more compression to them, so the requirements for the jaws to compress them down before the pin drives them into the bottle is a lot higher.
Yeah, I believe
one of the things that they do to try and mitigate friction is lubricating them.
I was unaware. I do notice that every time I open a bag that my nostrils get burned with SO2.
The SO2.
Yeah.
Nothing like a little SO2 burn in the morning.
That's right. Speaking of which,
cool, man. What are you working on?
Yeah, I mean, I just filtered all of a bunch of reds. We've got a 2017 Chambourcin we're bottling, our Tango blend, which is a blend of Chambourcin and Cab Franc, and Petit Verdot, as well as our Barrel Reserve Chardonnay. So I'm going to have to do sulfites on all those and get those ready for bottling. Did a bunch of egg white fining trials on those. But
those are fun.
Yeah, we this is the first time that we didn't use them. It stripped the nose off the Chambourcin. It softened the Tango a little too much. In the Petit Verdot, it muted some of that notorious, whatever you want to call what's in Petit Verdot. I always think of like black licorice for some reason, but it's like that kind of...
like a bit of an anisette kind kind of
Yes,
expression.
definitely. Or like a unripe currant even could fall into that
Yes,
category.
I would definitely agree with that one. So, yeah, I mean, that's why you do bench trials, right? Because otherwise you get blindsided. Did you try any other fining products?
We did not after that. In all honesty, none of these wines had that grippy tannins. Like, we found that with our Cab Sauv and our Cab Franc, and sometimes the Merlot, especially when we're bottling them, if they haven't been in barrel as long as we'd like them to be, we've had great success with getting a nice rounder mouthfeel. The Cab Franc.
How quick to market are your reds? Like, are they going out to the public within a year, or are you bottle aging for a couple of years beforehand?
So it's all variable. Right now, because we've gone through that expansion, we're moving everything through the winery faster than we'd like. So we'll be increasing production quite a bit. But generally with our Cab Franc, it spends about 2 years in the barrel and maybe 4 or 5 months in the bottle until it starts being sold out of the tasting room.
Okay.
For the Cab Sauv, it's a faster turnaround. 1 year in the barrel, and then generally we're sold out of that. So,
right.
I mean, Cab Sauv is one of those ones that it markets itself because it's one of the most popular wines.
Yeah, any wines like that are super recognizable move out the door quickly. I mean, people, those are the two things they ask for: Cabernet Sauvignon or Chardonnay. I mean, those are the two. When they come to the tasting room, those are the two that everyone has heard of.
Yeah, which is shocking because I would love to put other wines in front of a lot of people. I put Chamberson in front of some house guests I had over. Our friends from college were down, and they were looking at florists for their wedding.
Wow.
And they were driving up from Virginia, so they swung in.
So then they were up. They weren't down.
Yeah, seriously. Well, they were down from where they normally live, but they were driving up. So I guess they were going both ways. They're our friends from college. They're just starting med school, and they were on their way up or down.
So what'd they think? What'd they think of Chamberson?
They loved it. You know, it was the trial of the egg white fining that I had in the house, but it was we had some new oak, a proportion of new oak in the Chamberson, which generally we use mostly 2-3 year old oak for Chamberson, just because
just doesn't have the weight to handle the grippy oak tannin.
This was our 20. What was this? So 2017 Chamberson, I think. We just pulled out a barrel, so it wasn't an oak that long.
Okay.
And it really great year for us. So we're talking like 24, 25 bricks on the Chamberson.
Nice. Did you pull any Saignée?
Oh, of course, yeah.
All right.
And
because I've heard that has really deep color. And
yeah,
you
really.
Use it to boost color and other stuff.
Really deep. That was the one when it was the one that I called you and I was like, this filtered too easy. I think my filter might be compromised. Because there was still, when I was shining the flashlight through it, it looked like it wasn't brilliant. So,
wow. Well, good. How's the mid palate? It's got weight to it.
A bit. Chamberson, the acid generally drives the whole mouthfeel on that, but I think with a little bit of oak tannin, and there's definitely something in hybrids. I'd have to do.
I've never worked with it, so that's why I'm asking all these questions.
Well, it's funny with hybrids. Like we've worked with Deschanac before, and I made that Coro Noir Merlot blend, which actually was pretty dang good. But the Deschanac always, I mean, technically there's no tannin in it, but there's definitely, because you were adding oak chips during fermentation, or oak powder rather. So I think there is some sort of residual tannin or protein that rounds out the mouth in that, because it's not like a white.
Right. Well, I mean, there's a lot of techniques you can use. I'm going to try a few new ones this year. I don't know if you've ever used Onalese, formerly called BioLese. It's a yeast hull product and polysaccharide blend that's supposed to help build mouthfeel.
No, I haven't.
So the wine consultant we have had us order this last year, and I'd never used it before. And Brandon, the vineyard manager, was like, listen, with the Barbera, it made a really serious multivitamin flavor, and he didn't like it. So I guess he talked with the makers of it, and they said, "Oh yeah, that can sometimes happen with Barbera." So I didn't use it in the Barbera, and then this year I did test barrels of it. I added it to one barrel of each of our red lots, so I have a basis of comparison against the rest of the lot, and so I can taste it and see if it really helped build a little weight. But you're supposed to stir it monthly, so I've been doing that, and we'll see after aging if there's a serious change. But it is something.
So
that
this is something you add after pressing.
Incorporate. If it works, I'm gonna add it right after fermentation.
So after it comes off the press, before barrel, is that when you add it?
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. I'll settle and then I'll rack
and
I'll add it.
Some sort of polysaccharide?
It's a full polysaccharide blend.
And it is. I would love to know the chemistry behind that to see what it's doing.
Give me a second, I'll look it up.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, I think the idea behind it is just supposed to build structure and lengthen out some chains. So it's a Lafort product.
Our whites this year, you tasted our Vidal and our Unoak Chardonnay.
Yeah,
but
really good.
Whatever I did to those, which I think was just, we had multi-fermentations happening for both of those, so it was two fermentations and then blended. Same yeast, same everything, same temperature even. But I think that maybe in the smaller lots really helped build the structure on these wines because they turned out really well.
Okay. Yeah, did you write down what you did?
Yeah, I've got it somewhere in my notes, but.
Okay, so it's a Lafort product, says specific preparation of yeast cell walls for eliminating specific polyphenols responsible for bitterness and astringency. So they sell it as a fining product, but it's like everything in this industry. They get it FDA approved for one thing, but it happens to do something else, right?
Yeah.
Developed as a result of Lafort's research on the properties of yeast lees and their importance in wine fining, Onalees contributes towards improving the gustatory qualities of wine by reducing aggressive characters, the fining effect, elevating mid-palate sensations thanks to its content in HSP12 peptide, HSP12 peptide, improves finesse and foam persistence on sparkling wines. So it is something I want to try in our sparkling program as well.
Oh, definitely. I wonder if it makes
I attended a seminar with Lafort, an online seminar, which I need to send you these. You need to get on this. It's really fun. Like if you have a time at noon where they always start at 9 a.m. Pacific, so that's noon East Coast, where you just sign in and you just listen to them and you pick up some stuff. It's really cool. Obviously, they're trying to sell product as well. But one of the things they talked about in the sparkling seminar was using yeast lees and yeast lees products to help change texture and mouthfeel in sparkling wines.
Well, yeah, it makes the bubbles smaller.
Yep.
Which makes it creamier, like a...
Right.
Yeah,
so
I'm
excited to try that.
I'm hoping that we'll be experimenting with the vineyard that I've got going up in Tully with the Frontenac Gris. I'm hoping to have a couple lugs worth of that this year.
Okay.
So I'm going to try to make a sparkling out of it. So I'm going to make a base wine and make sure that if you're not familiar, but I'm worried about the acid in this wine because it's supposed to have really high TAs.
Well, that's perfect for sparkling.
Yeah, but it's also supposed to get up really high bricks. So
high bricks and high TA.
That's what I've read.
We'll just have to check it. That's like a freaking horrible nightmare for sparkling then. If you don't want it to taste like a tequila shot.
Yeah, I know.
You're targeting 19.1 bricks.
Well, ideally, Mike, I would do
9 to 11 TA.
Yeah. Well, I would do the secondary fermentation without chaptalizing anything. That would be ideal.
Oh, so okay.
So
what you could do, John,
I would chill it down. and either bottle and crown cap it and do it method champenois, or I would do chill it down and then Charmat. Something like that.
Okay. You could take it mid-fermentation and do it as a péton naturel.
Pet nat.
That might be your best, a pet nat. I hate when they say that.
Yeah, me too. I have heard, and I swear to God that the winemakers are doing this just because it's so much easier to market.
Much easier. It's cheaper. It's easier. No, there's a winery near us that does it.
It's a fad right now.
It's all the rage.
So
there's no regulation on it, right? So like every bottle is different, and some of them are really like between your 6 bar level, and some of them are like 10 bar, right?
10 bar, holy crap!
Yeah, like they're gonna blow the freaking glass apart. But you have no control over it. I mean, you take a few measurements, and you're like, okay, it's good. Let's bottle it. And then, you've also got, it's not clear. There's tons of lees in it or whatever. I don't know.
Well, does it have to be depending on the style you make, sometimes they do it where they ferment a wine to still and then they add the triage.
And let it work on its own?
Yeah, that's what they call it, right? The triage is the yeast, the nutrient, and the sugar. And the dosage is what you blend with after you disgorge?
Yes, I believe that's correct.
Yeah. Those French and their fancy lingo.
Not really.
Oh, yeah, I'm excited, though. If I'm going to make, coming in a couple weeks, the black currants are going to be ready up in...
Really? Already? I feel like you just got them in the ground.
No, those won't be ready. But my old plants, I'll be able to pick.
Okay.
I think I picked them at the end of July last year, or maybe the middle of July. But I can't wait to make that again. I can't wait to use a pectin enzyme. I would love to get the reactor, the glass line tank set up so I could do a nice, hot maceration. Because I'm gonna have a lot more this year, but I had them on my stovetop with a spaghetti pot. Tell her you're busy. No, I'm just kidding. I had them on my stovetop, and I had our spaghetti pot was filled to the brim, and I'm doing my best to try to stir these, but it's really it was like a mash, so it was really hard to stir, and I made a huge mess in our kitchen. I'm hoping I can do it a little somewhere else, or in stages even.
So, how does that reactor work? How do you heat it up?
It's jacketed.
Pump hot water. Is it double jacketed? You can pump hot water through it.
Yeah, apparently, Dad was talking to his chemical engineer, and he was saying that you could just use to cool it. You can use a college refrigerator and a little bit.
Oh my God, we have one of those.
And I think he said like salt water or glycol, and you can cool it down to like an insane under freezing. Just because it's so thick. The thing is...
The glycol sounds good.
Yeah. But, I mean, I need the exact opposite. I need to figure out a way to heat water and pump it into it.
You can do it the same way with glycol.
Yeah.
You just need a heating element.
Yeah, exactly.
So, God, what can you use to heat like that?
I was thinking like a crock pot even. Or...
That would work.
Or some sort of electric heating element.
You just need something with a heat coil that you can pass the water through.
The other thing you could use is just you
could use a hot water boiler.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Like just get a crappy RV hot water heater.
Yeah. Or I could literally use a propane tank and like a flame to heat water in another pot and just have the
That
pump.
sounds really dangerous and ghetto. Go for it.
Yeah, I'm just saying for ease's sake. I need to figure out the licensing on this in New York to turn it into a still, because I would love to make the low or the base. I guess I would make a low wine and then I distill that to make my fortification alcohol for the cassis.
Right. Yeah, man. Hey, I have plenty of encapsulated yeast if you want to use it for your Frontenac Great.
Yeah, I'd love to.
Sparkling.
I'd actually love to use. Crap, what was I going to say? I can't remember.
I don't know. I also have a crown capper that is pneumatic.
Oh, really? That's
Yeah.
great. So they have to be. Yeah.
It's awesome. So we had this issue where we had a hand crown capper.
Yeah, they don't work.
Okay, they had a whole bunch of them, right?
And popping bottles.
They were. You couldn't get the cap lined up perfectly, and there was a variation in pressure on each cap. And they were all stored on their sides, and a whole bunch of them, the pressure pushed the wine out, and they leaked. Okay, so I didn't know what, I was like, we got to fix this. We lost like $2,000 worth of product because of that.
Yeah, Ramon at college, when I was at college, he bought a pneumatic capper so I could do my project.
Yeah, the thing is great, man.
It's fantastic.
It's amazing. So I encouraged us to do that. I found a 20% off coupon, and I was like, let's do it. So we got it. I think it was like $500, maybe a little less. No, it was like 500 and something.
Yeah, I think that's how much we paid too.
Yeah, it's made by Ferrari.
Oh,
the thing's great.
Did it come with a jacket? What about shoes?
No, but it came with a box of tools. Anyway, so the thing is great. It like changed our life. It made us way more efficient. I mean, it's not built. Obviously, it's not built into our bottling line. We looked into that champagne stuff, but it's like an extra 25 or 30 grand for our bottling line. So we got what we needed done for like $500. So you take it off the end of the bottling line, you crown cap it, and then we put it down. So this year, to check how good the crown caps were, we stored some of the wine on its side in one picking bin, one big macro bin, and then the rest of them we stored vertically. And thus far, knock on wood, we have not had an issue with leakage.
I've been knocking on wood more than I like to at the moment because we've been going through that expansion, and my life has been. It's been
a hell.
Yeah, it's just been. I'm trying to do what I normally do, and
with everything, with freaking caution tape all over everything.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So luckily,
you have to wear a hard hat to work now.
Seriously.
I've got one if you need it.
I have one too.
All right.
I remembered what I was going to say a little while ago. I need a pectinase enzyme or something to help with the maceration that I can add.
Pec5L.
Yeah, just something.
Lafazyme CL if you want to go with powder.
I want something that really cuts through membranes because you remember the bottom of all of my Cassis bottles were. Obviously, I only made about a gallon last year for the
Pec5L. That is recommended for fruit as well.
Okay.
They use it on apples. Let's see, Lafazyme CL. That's the powder one. It comes in I think it comes in a 250 gram, but the dosages are like 1 gram per hectoliter or something.
I don't even think
that's for
I don't even think it's that high. I think it's 1 gram through. Oh,
no,
you're right.
0.5 to 2 grams per hectoliter. So I was right. It comes in 100s and 500s. That's for juice settling and improved lees settling. Yeah. So maybe your best bet is probably Pec5L.
I'm looking for straight up. I think the enzyme is actually called pectinase, and it's just I want to because there's I lost so much of this product because I kept trying to filter it and I couldn't get it to filter, and it was ridiculous. I was using like a mesh strainer, and I need something to really cut up cell walls.
Okay, so Pec5L is a highly concentrated pectinase blend designed specifically for winemaking, blah, 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 blah. Sprinkle over the grapes, fruit, before pressing or add to the juice before the start of alcoholic fermentation. So, yeah, I've used both. I like PEC 5L a lot.
I'm sure there's got to be something that's better than that for what I'm trying now.
Than PEC 5L?
I think so, because we use... maybe we don't use... I know I use PEC 5L on something. I don't...
Let me look.
Well, you're looking... We had a guy swing by our winery, and he dropped off some finishing tannin and some gum arabic.
Who is he?
Oh, I don't know. They're all...
Do you remember where he was from?
Another guy stopped by the other day, was trying to sell us tanks. And it's really hard... You've seen our tanks, right?
Yeah.
It's really hard for me to tell the guy, we have a good tank distributor, we have really competitive prices, and I don't think you can give us exactly what we want.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, oh yeah, we can do that. We can do the pharmaceutical grade finish inside. We can do that. And I was like, do you see these out here? I don't know. It was a Criveller salesman. And yeah, that's what every winemaker says about them.
Okay. Well, I mean, I've used their bottling line, and it hasn't been awesome for me.
Yeah, I want to...
Specifically the labeling and...
Well, you could say that every bottling line I know of, the labeling's always...
Yeah, specifically the labeling and the capsuling.
Did I tell you we're using a bottling truck one time this year?
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah. It saved me 3-4 weeks worth of work in one week. We're gonna get it all done. Yeah, I've got...
Hey man, you're getting big enough that you should be banging it out.
Yeah, we
that. I mean, look at us. We don't use a bottling truck. We have an automated bottling line. And tell me, what do we? We do 60% of what you do.
Yeah, we'll break 10,000 next year.
Holy
Easy.
crap. So you're double us then.
Yeah.
The only difference is we have lots of clients whose stuff isn't getting ready all at the same time. That's why we don't use a bottling truck. It's for versatility. But when you don't have any custom crush clients, so
yeah,
you can make everything ready at the same time.
Yeah, I can't wait to get that all done. That's going to save me a lot of work.
Okay. Amylases break down starch. Glucoamylases degrade dextrin to glucose. Proteases degrade proteins, which prevent proteinase. Pectinases break down pectins, which prevent pecticases. Gives improved yield of juice when pressing, produces faster settling, and in some cases may release more aromatic constituents.
I'll look this up on my own time because I need to look at...
Here's cellulases break down cellulose.
That's probably what I need.
That might be what you're looking for, something that has cellulose.
I need to look up what the chemical composition is of, like, the current. I mean, the current is a lot different. Like, the skin is harder than grapes. You know
what I'm thinking you might want to use is a macerating enzyme.
Yeah, that's what I'm... Yeah, something like that.
Okay, so for that, I like you're not long aging it, right?
No, it's you've tasted it, doesn't it?
So Lafay's fruit is the one that is a short aging enzyme, and that's a pectinase protease, I think. Let me see. Enzymes, Lafay's fruit. So the other one is the other one that we use is Lafay's. No, it's Grand Cru is the name of it. So we have fruit and Grand Cru, and they will turn after a 6-day maceration. Now maybe an 8 or 10 day, and after fermentation, it is like paste in the tank.
Oh, great.
That's amazing.
That's exactly what I need.
Yeah. So you get it up to 83 degrees. I don't know how hot you're heating this up.
At least that hot.
So the one thing that you might have to worry about, are you doing a cold soak?
I'll probably heat the shit out of it. Add the enzyme once I get it cold enough and let it settle, because the heating in itself will
denature the enzyme. So you don't want to waste it.
Exactly.
So what I would do is
it's just like
cold soak it with the enzyme and break it down as much as you can before you heat it, or heat it up. Let it cool down to a safe enzyme range under 102 probably, and then add it.
Yeah, that's how I'll do. I'll probably heat it first. There are natural enzymes in the fruit, but I doubt there's enough to do what I want.
I would say nothing that can do what these do. These things are amazing.
So I'm probably going to heat the shit out of it, try to rupture every cell wall in the gamut, and then I'll add this to it and give it a 48-hour sit time, and then I'll.
So go ahead.
Yeah, and then I'm going to try to either, I'm going to press it off with our basket press at the lake, probably the big one.
Purified pectolytic enzyme for production of fruity, colorful, and round red wines. I really like both of these, Lefay's Fruit and Lefay's Grand Cru. If you're doing a pressed rosé, I use Lefay's Fruit because it's quick to market, and it isn't awesome for getting deep tannins out of it, but it does a great job for getting fruit flavors out. And Grand Cru, for sure, that's the one for aging. It's really, really good.
If this were a wine, I'd be much more concerned because there's a fermentation and all that, but this is much different. I'm more worried about the maceration because it's going to be fortified.
Okay, so they have something called Lefay's XL extraction, a liquid enzyme preparation for maceration of red and white musts. Let's see here.
Yeah, so I'll find one of those and I will. I'll get it in there and we'll give it a test run. I think in 2 years I'm going to have quite a bit of product once these plants come of age. The next field over where I planted a bunch of them.
What was your yield last year, and what do you anticipate your yield being this year?
I think I'll have probably a 5-gallon pail worth this year, maybe more. I probably could have had a 5-gallon pail last year. I just didn't have time to pick them all because it was dusk and we had to get back to the city.
Okay.
So I'm thinking this year I'll probably have a 5-gallon pail full. In 2 years I'll probably have maybe 100 pounds.
Wow. That's impressive. What is the yield in relation to grapes?
I don't know. I'd have to.
Or
it's
less?
So weird. We did such a bad job picking last year. I'm buying all of these Swedish, I think they're for blueberries, but they kind of scoop through the leaves, and you're kind of yanking them off because they've got these. It's like a little fork you're scooping through to try to have better yields, and then you sort through the leaves afterwards.
Okay, for blueberry picking, or
yeah, something like that. I might.
I don't know a lot about currants. Do they grow in bunches, or are they individual berries?
They're individual berries in bunches. Do you know what I mean?
Yes, I do.
So there's a flower, and each one is a bunch of individual berries. There's not clusters, and they've got long stems. So right. I'm gonna try to.
I was impressed with the color. I've never seen the color like that, man. It's just incredible.
Well, it helps with the acids that high too.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was
You know that whenever you blend acid into wine, right? You blend it in, and you're like, wow.
That was such a good aperitif.
Yeah, it was great.
I was
really impressed.
To have that on its own, or to mix it with a little bit of champagne, or the sparkling Riesling we were mixing, it was fantastic.
Cool.
Yeah, I'm really happy with that product. I had no idea I was going to be this excited about black currants when I planted them the first time. The reason I planted them the first time was I was walking by this tank in the winery I was working up in upstate New York, and I was like, "What is that smell? That smells really good. It's like a pine tree or like a like a fruity pine tree or something, and then I walked by and they had just macerated black currants. They were starting to ferment.
Neat.
Yeah.
What were they working on?
So they were making just a blackcurrant base wine, and then I think they made a couple things with it. I think they made a blackcurrant apple wine, and then I think they had a liqueur with it too, but I'm not sure.
Okay.
You know what? I don't think they had a liqueur with it, come to think of it. I think they were just blending it with a couple different fruit wines.
Okay.
But yeah, it really helps with the apple wine because you've got such, those flabby apple wines with the malic acid driving the mouthfeel.
Right.
And then you've got black currants, which are just, have like a TA of, I couldn't even tell you because I never got to do chemical analysis on it, but it's high. It's very high.
It tasted like 14.
Yeah, I would say 14. I would say it could have been diluted a little more to keep the enamel on my teeth.
What I did like about it was the weight. There was tremendous mouthfeel given an acidity of that range. Yeah. I mean, it had structure. It was incredible.
Yeah, that was good.
So I am trying to prep my harvest order. Got to get my harvest order in before I lose the free shipping and the discounts.
Oh, really? For like yeast and all that?
Yep.
Yeah.
I did try and do it all in one shot, and I'm trying to keep the cost down this year. Do
you have 100%, like, you're in control of all this now?
Yes.
Great.
I used 40 different yeasts last year.
Oh, God.
And I have X'd them off, a lot of them off the list.
Yeah, I finally got Cross Evolution off of our list. I
just X'd
not
Cross
like
Evolution's
that
gone, BL2 is gone. What else is gone? I don't know, a few others, and I'm just sticking with some of my go-to yeasts. Vin 13, X5.
Yeah. We should do a whole episode just talking right before harvest, talking about the yeast and what we're using them on. That'd be fun.
Yeah, it would be fun.
I'll get a list together.
Basically, I just went through the 50 some odd wines I made last year, and I was like, I liked this one. I liked this one. This one was troublesome. I liked this one. This one was troublesome, and just highlighted the troublesome ones and X'd those yeasts off the list. And a lot of them were the same. That Cross Evo came up a couple of times.
Oh, my God.
The VL2 came up a couple of times. I'm not using anything that's heavy in nutrient requirements. And now, that was my first year working this vineyard. I know which varietals are most most nutrient sensitive. So I can, the Pinot Gris last year was a bit of a problem and seemed to really I had to go in a couple of times with Fermentation Temperatures to bump up the DAP levels in mid-fermentation.
Yeah, it's so hard because
to be a bit more aggressive with
all the science says that you should be bumping up the nitrogen in the beginning of the fermentation because it doesn't do as much towards the end, right?
Right.
Is that what
and towards the end, you're like just covering your ass, trying to avoid the H2S.
Yeah, the one thing that freaking drove me crazy for using that Cross Evolution, I think I used that for 3 years, and every year, unfortunately, I don't have the reins as much as I would. I don't know if I would like it more or if I would be more stressed if I had the complete control, but we finally decided that the Cross Evolution is just always the weakest fermenter, takes forever, it never finishes clean. And it was just like occasionally, I think the first year I used it, I really liked it. And I had a really clean fermentation.
I think it's super sensitive to cold. Okay?
Well,
it's super nutrient dependent. And it is just a creeper. It will not bud and it just won't.
Well, doesn't the package say that it likes 55 to like 60 degrees or 55 to 70 for fermentation?
I don't know what the ranges are on it. I can look, but I just know it was.
I know it's a cool fermenter, but it was terrible.
I mean, it wasn't good in barrel. It wasn't good in tank for me. It says low fermentation temperatures 57F, so 57F and above. 58F, it says here. It said 57 in the notes and then 58 on the actual page.
Yeah, I was never fond of that one.
And supposedly it works for high alcohols. 15%. I wouldn't exactly call that super high.
No, me neither. How is
and
your...
it says reasonably low nitrogen requirements. I wouldn't agree with that either.
Oh, God, no.
No.
I mean, maybe it does have reasonably low nitrogen requirements because no matter what your nitrogen additions are, it's not enough, but... Or something else needs to be added, but that was a real rough one for me every year. Yeah. I hated pitching it too.
Yep. Hybrid yeast from a unique breeding program of the Institute of Wine Biotechnology at the University of Stellenbosch in South Africa. Now, they've come out with some great yeast. Vin 13, I believe. But this was not one of them.
Well, I wonder with the yeast manufacturing protocols how much they change from year to year. Because as far as, like, each yeast has what, like 5, because they don't reproduce sexually, so they're all budding, but they have 5 genomes in them or 5 DNA strands in them, and I'll have to clarify this for everybody who's listening out there, but essentially what happens is they keep selecting for the best ones over and over and over again, and then they change eventually.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. That's more your.
Well, I know that some of the producers have done studies where they've frozen the same yeast strand that they've used year after year, and then they look at the stats in like 15 years about what they're selling as whatever numbers.
The same yeast, and it's changed.
And it's got different alcohol conversion ratios and things like that. So it's
wow.
I was listening. I can't remember where I was listening to when they were talking about that, but...
Yeah, well, as a point of comparison, if you look at Vin 13, also developed at Stellenbosch. I hope I'm saying that right, probably.
Yeah.
Stellenbosch in South Africa. That one has a 50 to 59 degree Fahrenheit range and alcohol tolerant up to 16.5%. Now, I love the tropical fruit flavors that come out of that, and that one's a freaking bear. It'll get through anything.
Yeah, I think that's what actually we replaced our cross evolution with. Was Vin 13.
It's a good decision. I loved Vin 13. I loved every wine that I made last year with Vin 13 and X5 as well. And so that is pretty much what is driving.
Now, there's a
couple of changes. I made a change to the Pinot Gris as well because I moved from a different yeast there. I'm still going to use the starter yeast, which is not a non-Saccharomyces strain.
Does Vin 13, is that the same as K1, or are those different?
Different.
Okay.
Yep.
I don't know if Vin 13 is one of these yeasts, but I know some of the yeasts, they produce chemicals that kill other yeast that would ferment.
Right.
And it's dangerous to use.
And I looked into one of those for the Torlaspora because I'm going to run with a Torlaspora up front on the.
You're doing that again?
On the Pinot Gris. I liked it. It gave it mouthfeel. The one thing I'm going to be really careful of is I didn't know it last year, but Torlaspora has a very narrow operating temperature range. So, I had cold, I chilled it way down, and then it was nowhere near temperature to pitch that yeast. It wasn't a 10 degree, it wasn't get it within 10 C or 10, to pitch it. It was like the must has to be above 70 degrees. And I was like, what? So I'm going to get it in a tank with a heater. And then I'm going to heat the tank to get it to the temperature I need and blow some nitrogen through there to mix it. And then I'll pitch the Torlaspora. And then it's a 24-hour treatment. And then I'll come in with my Saccharomyces after that.
Gotcha. Yeah, I've never fooled around with that. If I had more wines to work with, maybe I would. I'm not making 59 wines, so.
Yeah, well, the Pinot Gris, not super expressive.
Are you making it as a Pinot Gris? Is there any oak in there? Are you stirring the
No.
lees? All stainless?
100% stainless steel, but we are trying for lees incorporation. And I'm going to be more aggressive with that this year, and probably will try the Onalees just to see if I can get more mouthfeel and more kind of lees flavor in it. Once I get it off the gross lees, I'll add the Onalees, and I'll just start bubbling some nitrogen through it and kind of lift that stuff back into suspension every week, probably.
Gotcha.
So that I didn't know about these things. When I started, I wasn't working at a winery that had a real clean in place system for cleaning tanks. And so when people were like, "Oh, just roll the tank with nitrogen," I was like, "What are you talking about?" And so one of the things that we do to help mix the tank if we need to is we just hook up a nitrogen line to the racking valve, or not even the racking valve, the lowest valve in the tank. We crack the lid on the tank, and you just open the valve and pulse nitrogen through it to mix it.
Yeah, it's not a bad idea.
It's like a super lazy way to do it. You're not exposing any oxygen to the wine.
Yeah, but
the one thing you might be doing is driving off some residual CO2 in solution. But it mixes it.
Yeah.
It works. And if you're doing like a slow add of a product, like a tannin product or a lees product, and you just want to roll the tank lightly and you don't need it to be pumped over, basically, you can just get it to bubble, and it's like a random mixing system because the gas doesn't come up the same way every time. And you can just slowly incorporate what you need to into the top.
Yeah, until somebody invents the large magnet at the bottom of the tank.
We've talked about this.
Yes.
With the dinosaur egg-sized magnetic stirrer.
Yep.
And you just bring over that super hard magnet. It's an electromagnet. You turn it on, and it starts mixing your tank from below. I really want that to happen.
Yeah, it'll happen someday.
They have you seen the tank mixers that go in through the racking valve?
Yeah.
I've never used one. Have you used one?
I have not, no.
Yeah. I've looked at them, and I'm trying to figure out how they work, right? How you get it in there and hooked up without, shooting wine all over yourself, because it's not something they have mounted in there 100% of the time. They pull it out and they move it to the next tank, but there's some sort of valve. You open the valve, and the impeller goes between your normal butterfly valve. It slides between it.
And not a butterfly. It's got to be a ball valve.
It's called ball valve. Yeah, it goes through the ball valve.
Yeah, I think the way it works is it's a rod, and it has a cap on, like a circular cap that fits through the valve. I probably rubber of sorts, and then there's
some pros that are probably laughing at us.
Yeah, I know. Well, not even pros. We had one of those mixers that looked like it was from 1965 at one of the wineries I worked at, and yeah, I never used it, but I know that it had, the arms on it, and it spun, and
yeah, I would love that. I would love to get one of those.
Yeah,
do you have racking wands on all your tanks at the racking valve? Can that rotate down?
Yeah,
for ease of rack. Yeah, I really want to get those. We've got
our new Albrigi tanks.
28 tanks, so it's going to be pretty expensive.
Yeah,
but
our new Albrigi tanks, they all come with them, and they're fantastic.
Yeah. So I had those at the last place I worked, and they make life easier. They really do. Cleaner. You don't have to. You're sparging with gas. You can sparge with gas the whole time. You don't have to open up the clean out port to go in there with a wand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How's your growing season looking this year?
It's pretty good. We were really vigorous up front. And I think we got some rain during flowering, so it's weird. I'll tell you it's weird. Like, some of our grapes are looking perfect, and then you go to the next plant over, and you're like, why is the fruit set so spotty? And then you go to the next plant, and you're like, well, these berries aren't whole berries. And then you go to the next one and you're like, oh, these are perfect. And then you go to the next one and you're like, these have seams and they're going to split when they start to grow. I don't know. I would say that overall we're probably 75% of where we could be.
Well, it's so funny.
And it varies varietal to varietal.
I always think that when you're looking at the young fruit, they always look worse than they wind up being.
Yeah.
But, we had a bit of downy for a second. I think we've got it under control. I actually think the chemical we use, Pristine, is we got a lot of rain in the early season as well. And I think we've developed some. I think that chemical is not as effective as it used to be in years past.
Oh, really? Some resistance, you think?
I don't think it was probably us. It was probably one of the farmers nearby, and probably a blueberry farmer. But it
was spraying it, and then there's a strain that has resistance.
Yeah, the other thing that could have been is, I mean, it's systemic, so it's supposed to absorb in. But we had a few rain events where we just had, hot weather, a lot of quick growth. And then that with the systemics, obviously, it dilutes it when you get a lot of growth because your shoots have grown 10 inches since you last sprayed. If they're growing fast enough. And
how many times have you gone through to cut them back?
I just finished my first pass hedging.
Yesterday. Brandon last week did it.
Yeah.
So hedging.
Yeah, hedging's a good time until you realize that none of your posts in your vineyard are the same height.
Wow, dude.
Yeah, you think they are, but I was having trouble with that this year.
Clip a couple.
I mean, you do clip some. Somebody out there who's a really good vineyard manager is probably like, what an idiot. But the joystick has 4 little valves. It's like I'll have to show it to you if you've never used it.
Yeah, I've never done it, so I don't know.
Yeah,
you know what we used to do? Jacques used to have me stand on the back of the tractor, and he would drive through, and I would just take a hedger and just down the whole thing.
You're not the only vineyard that does that. I've seen that in a bunch of vineyards.
But Brandon has one that fits on the front of his tractor. And,
that's ours.
Yep.
It's a great tool.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't clip them because I'm always in the process of raising it and slowing down when I think when it finally comes out of the green work. But it's such like a hard spot because you've got the top one tipped over and you're like trying to see the post and you're looking at the ground so you know there's a post somewhere. And then
maybe you should have a guy to follow behind you, and every time you come up to one that is a problem, you hit the horn, and then he can spray paint it orange.
Well, what I went through yesterday and did is I took the Sawzall through and I cut off a bunch of posts that were noticeably higher than everyone else.
Good. It works.
Yeah. All right, man.
We'll do another podcast getting closer to harvest as we get prepped here. Maybe one for harvest.
Oh, we'll do a couple more. I've got plenty more to say. So this was fun.
Excellent.
Well, I'm John.
I'm Michael.
And this was our first episode of the Wine Brothers podcast.
First official?
I don't know. We've done a couple of these, but I don't know how to upload the other ones.
All right. Well, maybe we'll use them for special features for our patrons.
Yes. Not a bad idea. There were some great conversations in a few of them.
Yeah. And rough around the edges. They get to see us. They get to see us in our true form.
Yeah, the whole evolution of the Wine Brothers podcast in real time.
Absolutely. All right, man.
All right.
Have a good night.
Talk to you soon.
Yep.
Thank you for listening to the Wine Brothers podcast. If you feel like supporting us, feel free to follow us on Twitter at Wine Brothers Pod or follow us on Instagram at Wine Brothers Podcast. And if you feel inclined, please support us on Patreon.